gentlemen, you are more than welcome to this, another episode, episode 80. Can you believe that? Episode 80 of the Coffee to Level Show, brought to you by wigwam.ie SME Peer Support. Delighted that you've chosen to join us. Thank you for being here. And in particular, I'd like to welcome Dara Byrne, who's zoomed in all the way from County Carlow. And she's come in to have a chat with us today. Dara, please say hello and cheers us with your coffee cup.
Hello. Cheers.
And somebody asked earlier, what does the coffee cup say? What's the little message?
It says you've got this.
Woo. You've got this for sure. Folks, let me just tell you a little bit about Dara before we bring the lady in herself. Okay, so Dara Byrne, we've just met Dara. She has an organization. She is careful to point out it's not a business. It's a voluntary group called the Mammy Hub, and I'm really curious about what that's about. She says it creates a space for mums to be, and mums indeed, to support each other and speak openly and honestly about all things motherhood without feeling judged. It started as D-Walk Carlow about 4 years ago. Looking forward to hearing a little bit about that as well, Dara. The Mammy Hub was an idea in the back of my mind, she says, for a long time, and came into existence March, April of this year. How many employees? Well, she says it's just me and the lovely mammies / women that I link with. When I asked who is Dara, she says, I'm a woman, wife, daughter, sister, friend, and now mother, still trying to figure it all out. I'm honest and have a gigantic heart. Welcome to the cafe. And I have always loved the idea of helping people, having been through loss, unexplained infertility, IVF, both pre and postnatal anxiety and depression. I'm still coming out, laughing, crying, learning, growing. I love that I can take that, flip it, and create a space to help others going through similar. Sharing your story, she says, helps others to share theirs. And my motto, says Dara, is be open, be authentic, and make a difference. And when I asked, what does somebody not know about you? She said, well, I'm an open book, so that they know everything. However, my favorite book is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and the song by Kate Bush was actually released the year I was born. So there's the woo-woo moment for today. Great stuff, great stuff. Dara, pleasure. Thanks for taking the time out to come and see us in the cafe. In your own words, please. I always, by the way, say at this point in the chat that we can go and we could Google D-Walk Carlow and we could Google the Mammy Hub and find out all about that stuff. What we want to find out about is you. Would you bring us back to those early days in Dublin and bring us up through the years? Thank you.
Oh Lord. Okay. Well, yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Dara. I'm originally from Dublin. I'm now living in Carlow. I am. I have two brothers, both younger. So that makes me the only girl. Yeah. So I don't know how far back you want to go. I suppose I was thinking about it this morning and how things might all tie in. And I was just thinking about memories and just about the anxiety and when you become a parent and how that kind of brings you back to your childhood. And I was just thinking of one of my earliest memories is of my father. And I was only saying it to my mother a few years ago, and it was he was in hospital when I was younger, and I remember it quite clearly because I remember he had a hot water bottle with him, and I had his initials, Patrick Joseph was his name, so PJ, and it was blue. And my mother was saying, but you were only 2, so how could you remember that? But I do quite vividly remember it. He had been in to get a bypass. And that was his first bypass. So I think that's where a lot of my anxiety around kind of health and different issues stemmed from, but I didn't realise until later years, kind of through counselling and reflecting back and a degree in psychology and psychotherapy and different things, the kind of stuff comes up. So I suppose, yeah, that kind of came back up for me.
And thanks for sharing that. That's really interesting. I'm quite sure we've got a psychotherapist in the room here. I'm quite sure that there's a science behind that, and that memories can go back all the way to what your mother believes couldn't be possible at age 2. Yeah. But we won't go there for today, if that's okay. I'm curious about you and your brothers and school life and all that type of stuff, because we just want to get a picture of who you were coming out of school. Let's say, bring us through those years if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, yeah. Well, I suppose I originally, we were joking earlier on about North Side and South Side. I originally lived in Clondalkin, and I went to school there till I was about 7, and then we moved to Mount Marion. So that was kind of a very different experience. We were living in a cul-de-sac when we were in Clondalkin, and you were all out and playing and climbing trees and up to all sorts of mischief. And then we moved to Mount Marion, and it was like play dates and a very, very different existence when you were like 7 years old. So that took a bit of adjusting. Like, I still made friends and everything, but you know yourself, when you got used to being able to just pop in and out of friends' houses and everyone knew everyone. So yeah, I suppose that was so when I was 7. Yeah, I didn't really like school. It wasn't just really my thing. I suppose I loved English. That's where I loved the Wuthering Heights. I was saying that was my favorite book. I just loved the vivid descriptions in that book, and just I particularly remember the scene at the window where it was like nighttime, and just the vivid imagery of the hand coming through the window. And I just love the idea of the way creativity, and just that it brings you to a different place in your mind. And I used to read all the Enid Blyton and the faraway trees and going off into different lands. I just love being able to be creative and being off in your own little world, because I do love my own space and my own kind of, so then we went through secondary school. An all-girls secondary school, sure, you know what that's like. Girls are so nice to each other at that age, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, no, I still have some very good friends from that. So then, that.
Where was the school? Like, that was a very interesting description, by the way, of those early years up to 7 in Clondalkin, where it was just out the road in the cul-de-sac, and there's I feel like an inherent safety in a cul-de-sac environment, and everybody sort of raises everybody else's kids. Our kids they also grew up in cul-de-sacs, as it happens, and so I get that, and then this shift basically overnight to Mount Marion, and it became play dates and all planned activities, which is a very different experience. Really interesting, because you're talking genuinely those two ways of bringing up children were running in parallel, just in different parts of the same city. It's quite fascinating. I love the your description there, the Wuthering Heights book, and that you've got the scene in your head and the hand coming through the window. I can't say I know the scene, but you've described it really beautifully. In secondary school, all girls, did you find, what was books a place you went to? Were books your friend?
Oh, I love books. Well, I still was out with friends. Like, I wouldn't be in, I can't even think of the word. What is it, Harriet, when you're an introvert or you don't hang around with people? Is that what it wouldn't come to my brain? But no, I did. I loved books. And I loved writing poetry and short stories. And English would have definitely been my favorite subject, because I suppose I love being creative and expressing yourself, whether it's through like art. I did art as well. Wasn't very good at it, but I still did it. Writing poetry was a great way to be able to express yourself when you couldn't, because I suppose I'm a big talker now, and I remember I went to Irish college, was it in 3rd or 4th year, and I totally just came out of myself, because I was with a different group of people, and just, I don't know, it's like I just woke up one day and you weren't taking BS anymore, and this is me, and if you don't like it, you can shove it up your windpipe type of thing, So definitely came out of myself. A different Dara came back into 5th year, that was for sure.
Isn't that great? I see the Bula bus happening there for you. Isn't that just great that an experience like that can just, allow you blossom? Delighted for you. And Leaving Cert, did you go to college thereafter? What happened after Leaving Cert?
Well, my Leaving Cert, what was that? Oh, I nearly said the year there. Oh, that was close. Give away my age. But if you look up Kate Bush and the year that song came out, and give it away. Leaving Cert, what did I want? I thought I was going to go on and do English, but I didn't study very hard because I didn't like school very much. So I didn't get the points that I needed to do that. So I just kind of went on, I think I did a secretarial course or something like that, just to be doing something. I suppose my dad at the time was like, you have to go and do something. But so he didn't say it like that. That's a very feminine voice. But so what did I do after that? Oh, then I got into auctioneering. Yeah, welcome to the choo-choo ride of all the different things Dara did between then and now. But so I did auctioneering. Then what happened? That was 97. And then, I suppose that's when things kind of changed for me big time. It was 99, and my dad went in for his second bypass. And that was the Christmas week of 99. And just remembering the story from when I was 2, and on the bed with him. And I remember, because there's just, I have a poem that I wrote that I'll read to you later, just that, because it's kind of how the Mammy Hub and all that came about as well. But I was just, because it's just the idea of like when you're a child and you love being safe in the arms of a parent. And my dad was always my kind of go-to, and you could lie on the chest and hear the heart beating and stuff like that. It was just, even in my teenage years, it was very comforting. So yeah, on the 22nd of December 99, we were called into the hospital, and they said, yeah, he's not doing so great. So when we arrived, I remember going in, and you could hear all the defibrillators and different things. Is that the pump thing? I can't remember. Yeah, the thing to try and save a person's life. Yeah. So that was going on, and then that all kind of stopped, and they said, you can go in and see him now. So we went in, and the nurse said, do you want to say anything? And I said to her, well, am I saying, please don't leave me, or am I saying goodbye? And she said, you're saying goodbye. So I said goodbye. And I put my head on his chest, and I just remember his heart wasn't beating, and just that comfort was just gone. Yeah, so I suppose things changed quite dramatically then from, you know, he suddenly had to grow up very quickly, and
Dara, thank you for sharing that. I had no idea. I was naively going to quip earlier when you spoke about your leaving cert and your dad say, you know, got to go do something. And
yeah.
I was naively going to quip. So he obviously survived because it was 2. He had his first, and you had mentioned his first bypass when you were 2. So didn't expect you to go there. And our sympathies, our condolences to you.
A long time. It's 20 years now. Okay.
Again, dare I say it, thank you for being vulnerable, but you've also painted a picture for us with words there that none of us, I think, will ever forget. You know, that was, can't imagine what it was like for you. Who was there?
My mother was there. My brother, who was 16 at the time, I just remember he just punched the wall. Yeah, so I still have that image in my head. And my other brother was in doing Christmas shopping. So yeah, he didn't make it to say goodbye. So, and they weren't talking at the time, so that was quite difficult. But yeah. So, and my father's mother, we won't even go there. That's a whole other kettle of fish. Yeah, she was there as well. So yeah, we'll leave that one.
Dara, you know, we're terribly sorry for your loss, but thank you for sharing it. And it goes back to what I said at the top of the show, which was basically we can Google the Mammy Hub, we can Google DWALK Carlow, we can get we can scratch the surface. The Coffee at 11 show has evolved into something. It never started with this in mind. It was supposed to be a business show, but it has evolved into this beautiful space, dare I say it, with beautiful people who come in regularly to have a listen and talk to us. And it's a space where people can come in and get real if they wish to, but by being vulnerable like that and by sharing like that, I'm 100% sure that somebody here in the cafe live today, or somebody will hear the replay and it'll speak to them. And so thank you on behalf of all of those people for doing that. Yes, Dee, thank you, Eamon, for the rapturous silent applause that's rippling around the cafe here. So you said you had to grow up. What happened next, please?
Well, God, yeah, it was like, what am I going to do with myself now? And I suppose I had said that I always had an interest, I suppose, with writing and creativity and, you know, understanding different people and different things. And I went back and I did a degree in psychology. And I loved that because I loved the whole, especially the psychoanalysis and just the debating, because that's what I loved about English, was debating the poetries and what they really meant, and arguing with the teacher the whole time when she's like, this is what it means. You're like, oh, well, I don't think that's what it means. And yeah, I think she hated me. But anyway, but I didn't care because that was my opinion and I'm entitled to it. But so I did my degree in psychology. And there's actually a story that will come out of that later with the whole IVF, not back then, but one of the people that I met through my course that probably led me on that journey. So that was quite important because that was back in 2003 that I would have finished my degree. So that wasn't yesterday. God, it's a long time ago, isn't it, when you look at it like that? You think 1990 was 10 years ago, but it wasn't. And yeah, so I finished my degree. What did I do after that? I suppose I went back working because the degree cost money and I wasn't living at home anymore. I was renting and just kind of drifted back into office work and doing all that kind of stuff. And then I got into care work, kind of working with the elderly. I was working then, what was I doing that? Yeah, I did that for a good few years. And then came up to 2009. And everything just started going hits up at that stage with different things in my life. Yeah, so that was another crossroads, and that was I decided to move out to Dublin, and I just been made redundant, and there was in a relationship that just wasn't the right one, and ended that. And what else was going? Oh yeah, my house was broken into at the time, so I think it was just lots of different signs saying just need to get out of Dublin. So I literally just I suppose that was one of the first times like a gut feeling really just came about for me, that I just said I just need to do something. I didn't know how I was going to pay for where I was going or any of that kind of stuff, but I just literally drove to Ballymore Eustace and I looked at an apartment and I just said I'd take it, and I moved the following week. I just packed up my car and off I went, and I got a job a week later. And then what was it? That was
Let's pause you there. There's a lifetime in those last 3 minutes. Lifetime in those last 3 minutes. My goodness. And of course, tits up is an expression. That's
I didn't know whether you were allowed those naughty words. I have to watch my mammy words because my daughter's like a parrot. She sucks up everything. I'm nearly sure she's out for punk's sake. The other day I was like, oh shit.
I love it. Anyway, it's the vernacular. Basically, it means life took a turn for the worse. Right? But look, it's great. Not that it's great, not that life took a turn for the worse, but thank you again for being real. A couple of things that I just find interesting here, if I may. I'm going back to, you didn't get the points in English. By the way, I didn't get the points in Irish required, or the marks or whatever it was back in the day, to get into teacher training college, which is why you and I are having this conversation today, which I find really interesting. I'm delighted I didn't get the points in Irish.
Life worked out. Yeah. Everything for a reason and all that jazz.
Secretarial course was something to do. I'm interested that you went off to do a degree in psychology because you found an interest in that, and then you found your way back into care work. Just there's a journey there in itself, but again, it gives us a picture of who you are, and I really love that. This gut feeling that you alluded to, that was the first time in your life you had a gut feeling, I need to get out of here, and you did. And I love the fact you drove to Ballymore Eustace and said, I'll take it, and with no further or proper planning, just jumped.
Whee! And look how it worked out. Woohoo!
Well, so tell us, how did it work out? Are you still in Ballymore Eustace?
I nearly cursed there. No, I'm not. I'm in Carlow, remember?
Oh, forgive my geography. I was never very good at geography in school.
No, Ballymore Eustace is about, what is it? Blessington isn't that far from Ballymore Eustace. Yeah, you could nearly walk. Well, I did used to walk from it actually, because it wasn't a million miles from the lakes. I used to go up and have little picnics by myself till I got working, so it was great. But yeah, so then that was in around March, I think, of 2009, wasn't it? Yeah, it was just before Paddy's, I remember, because I went out with a friend of mine. And it was around the time that the clocks changed, and oh God, that was some night. But anyway, yeah, we ended up getting in a taxi to go to some time in Nace or something like that, but we forgot that the clocks went forward. So when we got there, we couldn't get in because it was too late. But yeah, it was a good night. I don't remember the rest of it, but anyway, it was a good night. Yeah, and then, what was it? That was March. And then I met my now husband in, I ruined the story. I could have made it go on a little bit there, but yeah, in the June. And if I hadn't moved down there, I wouldn't have met him. So yeah, that was a good thing that I did. Then we moved to Baltinglass, because it was kind of between both our works. Well, I wasn't super between, but it was between. He was working in Gorey at the time and I was working in Bray. So, and then he got wise and asked me to marry him, and I said yes. He proposed in a car park in Woodies, and it was very romantic. But yeah, that's how we roll. We just fly by the seat of our pants a little bit. But yeah, but it was nice. And yeah, so then we built a house, and we've been in Carlow since 2011.
And so where did the Carlow connection come from? Is he Carlow originally?
My husband's from Carlow, yeah.
Okay,
and we built him. Yeah.
Okay, this Kathy Mara's coming in from the States. This is all very important, the geography, and is there land with you, and all these questions get asked.
Oh, road frontage, yeah.
Is there road frontage or is there?
Well, there has to be, or we wouldn't have planning permission.
So very important. And of course, Bray, where did you say Bray? And where were the two jobs? Bray and
Gory.
Gorey. So they're both on the coast, but you know,
Yeah, but they're like,
yeah,
you wouldn't walk it.
you wouldn't walk it. You wouldn't walk it.
Well, you would, but you'd want to be mad.
All right. Okay. So again, we've got a picture. So life becomes blissful all of a sudden from a car park in Woodies. All of a sudden, there's a turn for the better. Right. Tell us what happened next, please.
Yeah, God, we're living in Carlow. I suppose then the commute was just getting a bit out of hand at that stage. I was spending about 4 to 5 hours a day in the car between getting up and getting back, and it was getting to the stage where on like Thursday you'd be driving home nearly falling asleep. So I kind of knew, and then I ended up getting quite sick because you're just up at so hours, and I think just the stress of it. So I kind of had to make the tough decision to leave the job, which was a shame because I loved it, because it was like an advocacy service for the elderly. So yeah, I loved it because it was kind of a support service as well. So I got to use my psychology degree a bit there and kind of listening and that kind of stuff. So what did I do then? Then I did a few jobs bridge thing. I worked in community development and a few different things, which was great because I made a few different contacts and I made friends and stuff then from working down here as well. So that was nice. So what happened then?
Again, that sounds lovely, and we're right caught up. Are you comfortable to go into the personal stuff, because
work away.
We're sort of leading towards the Mammy Hub.
Yeah, get to the good shit there. Come on.
And we got to get to DWalk Carlow on the way.
Yeah.
So obviously stuff began to unfold for you at a personal level that I understand you're happy, or not happy to share, but you're willing to share with us today. Would you mind? Thank you.
Yeah, no, not at all. It was, I suppose you say, oh yeah, you got married and everything was great and wonderful. And of course it is, my husband's amazing, but then you kind of get to the well, it's not a but. That's lots of buts in there, Dara. I suppose you're married and you're like, oh, how many years are you married now? And really trying to find the children coming along and all that kind of stuff. And there wasn't. And that went on for a few years, and I suppose that's where the conversation with my friend comes back in again, because I had been going to counselling because it was going on for years at this stage, and coming to terms with life without baby. I was actually reading books on life without baby and just kind of coming to terms that, because I'd been for tests and there was nothing, it just wasn't happening. And I don't know, anyone who's been through that kind of journey, they know how that can affect a relationship. So it just goes to show how strong ours was that we got through all of that. I suppose one day I met a friend for coffee. I remember it was in Black Rock actually, and we sat down and I was sitting and I was saying, God, you know, it was real. I think I was trying to convince myself that, you know, I was okay with it and I was coming to terms and I was doing my counselling, and she did the psychology degree as well, so she knew I was talking shit. But yeah, so she's like, oh really, Dara? Like, and you're just like, okay. And I was like, yeah, no, totally was. And then I suppose the whole conversation of IVF came up, and she's saying, do you think you might try it? And I was like, oh, I don't know, for the various different reasons, because you just hear about it and all that kind of stuff. So I went away, and then it was just like a niggling little thing. And I talked before about the gut feeling that I had. I suppose this was my second one, where something just said, okay, I actually really need to do this, because it was coming up to, I was 37, 38 at the time. And I had gone back to become a psychotherapist, and I had started that. And as anyone who's done that knows, it's quite an expensive course to do. So I was like, okay, I can continue doing that, or I can put the money maybe and go and try the IVF thing. So we went and we did the tests, and we told, the news that came back wasn't great. I think we were told we had like a 13% chance or something like that. So we just said, and we went for it, and thankfully it did work, but it was a very tough journey, because it's very hard and your hormones are all over the place. And I suppose one of the reasons the Mammy Hub came out of it was that it was something that we didn't tell anyone about, not even family. None of my husband's family knew, and it was just a very lonely journey, because it felt like it was some kind of secret or some kind of failure, or just, you know, that you're not meant to talk about it, and people don't talk about it, and they still don't really. So I'm hoping to kind of change. That's one of the things that I'm hoping to change, that people will feel more comfortable to talk about difficult things in life that they have to go through, because having support now that people know about it, well, they all know now. But yeah. But yeah, so when you don't talk about it, it's quite, and in work, my work didn't know, and my hormones were all over the place, and I was just crying at the tip of my hat at everything. And there's just the stress of it. I'm not telling my mother about it. I felt so guilty about that because, you know, I would have talked to her quite a lot, and then I'm not talking to her. So then she's probably thinking, is there something wrong? Because she hasn't been in touch, and she knew there was something wrong, but I wasn't saying what it was. And eventually then I did kind of open, and I suppose I was afraid to talk about it because you just, people judge and it becomes more real, or I don't know, I can't even remember at the time why I didn't really tell people. But yeah, so.
If I may come in and applaud you first for your bravery, for taking that step. Love the fact that it was the second gut feeling thing that came to you, and you said, I need to do this, and you did exactly what you did first time out. You just jumped in, and then you admitted to it being a very difficult journey. And it sounds to have been even more difficult on the basis that you weren't able to talk to people that you love and whom love you. That's do you mind me asking, were you advised as a couple not to? Was that your own decision? Where did that come from? Do you mind me asking?
Not talking about it?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose my husband would be quite private, and his family would be quite private, whereas my family aren't. Yeah, so I found that very difficult, and that would have been one of the things that I suppose as a woman I was feeling, God, I'm such a failure because I wasn't able to do it. Now that we have to keep it a secret, and you know, I mean, I'm sure my husband had his reasons for it, in that, like, if it didn't work out, then we wouldn't have to explain to people. It was more of that than a privacy or a shame or any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, he's totally on board about me talking about it now, by the way, which meant a lot to me, because it's very important for me to be able to tell my story so that other people can be able to share theirs as well.
Yes, indeed, and we applaud him too, and thank him for that, because we actually chose a Friday for Dara to come on the show because your husband's at home minding your beloved.
Like this at the door.
Tell us about the baby. Tell us about the baby.
Well, she's not a baby now, she's two.
Well, yeah, she's toddler now. Tell us what she like.
She's amazing. She's a brilliant little human. She's full of personality. I see her and I go, fuck, I'm so fucked. Like, she's so like me. It's going to be interesting when she gets to the three-nager stage. She's not even 2 and she's already got it like, roar. But yeah, I know she is. She's amazing. I say, someone asked me, was it all worth it? And I say, like, the IVF thing and all the experience and everything is not worth it, but she's worth it. Definitely 100%. I'm very, very glad that I did it. Going through the experience and what you have to do is a horrendous experience, and it's all very clinical and very not personal, and the things that people say, because when I was going through it, I had to stop because my hormones went too high, so there was the huge disappointment, and then maybe that won't work, and just I remember a nurse on the phone saying to me when she's like, we're going to have to stop because your hormones are too high, and I was devastated. And then my husband was away working at the time, and she's like, because your fluid could go in your lungs and you could die. And I remember just completely panicking, because that's why I told the story about my father, because my fear of around death and hospitals and everything, and anxiety and losing people and all that was kind of in there as well. And she's like, well, you know, the way you are and thinking, and I could be telling you worse news. There's still, you have your 3 embryos, you still have the chance, and you just have to take, and you're just like, wow, dude, it's like completely relative. Am I not allowed to feel the way I'm feeling? And there's just so much of that in there. I think maybe, I don't know, I don't want to generalize, because some of the people were lovely and were supportive, but I think maybe they just become so detached, you know, that it's like, well, what's her problem? I have to ring so-and-so now and tell her that she's never going to be able to have any children, you know, and this is her 20 millionth round of doing it, and this one's tried once and she's, you know, so yeah, but you're like, that's not the point. That's not the point. It's how I felt, and you should acknowledge how I felt at the time. And I think that's so important. There's a lot of that lacking, definitely.
The point is, this is you, and it's your life, and it's just your one experience that you know. This is just your reality. So so empathy wouldn't go astray. But as you say, you know, perhaps it was just this one individual. But look, delighted you have your beautiful daughter as a result. And again, your honesty. It wasn't worth it, but she is. It was just gorgeous. It wasn't worth it, but she is. Tough stuff. Tough stuff indeed, yeah. eventually, when you began to talk to family about it, how was it accepted? Was this in hindsight?
Completely. I probably should have told them all along. But I suppose that's the whole thing, presumptions, assumptions, and we just assume how people will react, or, maybe after the fact it is different too, because we got through it and it did work out. Maybe if it hadn't, it might have been a different story. But everyone is very supportive, and they're very supportive. Like, I got some lovely messages even coming on to talk about it today on here, and they're saying proud of me and stuff. So that's really lovely that people feel that it's good that I'm speaking out about like maternal mental health and just telling your story and just saying it how it is, and fuck what everyone else thinks, if they don't like it. Because that's one thing I find people, I don't know, particularly Irish people, we seem to be very uncomfortable with them, the whole it's okay to not be okay, just as long as you don't talk about it. They're having to sit with the uncomfortableness of it, which, I've never had an issue with that. Like, I'm happy to sit in complete silence. I was remembering my mum used to say, God, your dad used to be driven mad by that. You could go on a journey from here to Timbuktu and you wouldn't speak a word the whole journey. She's like, where's she gone in her head at all? But yeah, no, I've always kind of been comfortable, because when you're not speaking is when you hear, Oh yeah, it gives people that space to think and reflect and stuff as well. So, yeah, kind of went off on one there. I don't even remember what I was talking about.
And you know what? I let you go off on it. I thought it was just lovely.
Yeah. I tend to do that a lot.
Yeah, good stuff. I think that works for me. That works for me. I'm delighted. Look, great stuff, and thank you for coming in. I'm delighted and unsurprised perhaps, but delighted that the support has, wrapped itself around you once the story came out. I think I felt for you for a moment there where you said, I should have told them all along. We can't turn the clock back, so we can only work from where we are now. So I think it's very important what you've decided to do with the experience, and you've decided to step up and recognize and honor the possibilities in other women as to what they might be going through. So the whole D-Walk Carlow thing and the Mammy Hub, we'll get to that in just a second. Do you mind touching on, and this is probably leading into D-Walk Carlow, you mentioned pre and postnatal depression and anxiety. Can you touch on that for a second and then bring us into D-Walk Carlow, please?
Yeah, I suppose, my daughter's nearly 2 now, I suppose it was about probably a good year before, because you're just like in this complete blurb. The first year, because she had reflux and there was no sleep, and it was just, I didn't know my arse from my elbow that whole year pretty much. It was just like, what the hell just happened? You say about the happy ever after, I have my child and it's all perfect now, but you're just like, what the fuck is this? Like, no sleep. I remember being pregnant and being like, because it was a tough pregnancy, I was swollen out and it was the time of the real heat, and saying to people, and they're like, how are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, like, and they were like, I'm like, why are they being so fucking horrible? Like, I'm saying I'm tired, I'm pregnant, and everything is really awful. And they're like, and then you have a baby, and you're like, all right, that's what they're all laughing at. This is like a whole different level of like tiredness, like you've never experienced, like delirious tired. You're literally working on like 1 to 2 hours sleep a week. I know it wasn't that bad, but it did feel like it was kind of like that. Sorry, what was the question again?
I was, we were supposed to be talking about anxiety and depression.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Just touch on pre and post, and then bring us to D-Walk Carlow, please.
Yeah, the pre. Oh yeah, that was it was a year into it, and out of the fog. That's where I was going with that. And maybe and I went to the doctor saying I'm not sleeping. I'm just crying all the time. I don't know what's wrong with me, and I'm back in work and I'm just feeling I just can't deal with this at all. She's not sleeping, I'm exhausted, and she's like, oh, do you think maybe you might have postnatal depression? I don't be ridiculous. I wouldn't get postnatal, but I have a degree in psychology. I know all my shit. I'd know if I was depressed. I'm just really tired. And that's the way everyone feels when they have a baby, right? And she is like, oh, maybe take something. It's like, no, I don't need anything. So then I went back in, that was probably, I went back after Christmas then, and that was, the Christmas would have been Dad's anniversary, 20 years. So I think that kind of triggered something off in me, just thinking about everything. And I went back to the doctor then in January, and she said, well, how are you now? And I just burst into tears, and I just said I thought I'd be further along than I am, and I wasn't. and her attitude was not a very supportive one, which completely threw me off. Yeah, I won't even kind of go into what was or wasn't said, but it wasn't very helpful. I just remember being in tears in the bathroom and just saying, how am I going to like go back out into reception? Or I suppose the attitude was, it was a new year and a new start, Dara, now kind of pull your shit together a little bit, and you know, you can't stay off work forever and you need to decide, and only you can kind of pull yourself through it. And I was saying, oh, I was going to go to counselling, and counselling won't sort out your life. And you're just like, wow, okay, I'm not going to get anywhere with this doctor, so what am I going to do? So I kind of plodded on for a week or so, and then I just burst into tears with my husband and said, I just can't do it, you need to bring me somewhere and get me some help. So we found, I got in touch with my mum and my brother, and they got me a doctor in Dublin, and I got sorted. So that was great, just to have someone to just listen to me and acknowledge that I wasn't okay, as opposed to that I had to put my shit together and just get on with things. So yeah, so that was good. And I suppose that's where things kind of started. Then I started doing more Aguirre. I did I suppose COVID and all that started kicking in as well, and just a lot of reflection and having to kind of really face up to things. And that's what the Mammy Hub had been in the back of my head for what you're saying about the DWalk, Carlo. Sorry, I forgot about that. I had started that.
The DWalk, Carlo, was, if I understand it correctly, it's just a walking group of ladies.
It was a walking group. It was a way when I originally moved to Carlo to try and meet people. I can't even remember what I had it called at the time. But then I suppose when I had, that got into that. Oh yeah, that would have been 4 years ago. And then when I had Rebecca, it kind of changed into like a Mammy meetup walking group as opposed to a just anybody meeting walk-up group. And then, and we did different meetups and stuff, all Mammy related. And I suppose I just started connecting with mums a lot and talking to them for all around Ireland. After my experience with the doctor, I know it wasn't a very nice one, but I talked before about like taking things and flipping them. And I suppose thank her for being an arsehole on the day, because it made me go, right, you can either go down one road and fall apart completely, or you can turn this around and make it into something good. And you're saying, what supports are out there? There's no support. So like, right, Dara, let's go and create some. So that's kind of where, just talking to different mums. There was another lady doing Maura Geary as well. I got chatting to her, and she was saying, God, Karen is her name. Hello, if she's listening. But she was saying, God, the walking group is a great idea. And then we just got talking in general and just about mums and not being able to speak up and how we're all coping, going through COVID and different things. And I had said before COVID, I was looking into setting up support groups in Carlow because there wasn't really any around at the time. And I'd been speaking with Tusla and Sipsy and a few different things. And I'd been working on getting a grant to do a support group for moms, and that was kind of coming through. So that was great. And then COVID kicked in, so that all kind of came to a stop, and everyone's just so uncertain and what's happening. And then speaking to Karen, I was like, oh sure, why don't we just start up something online and take it from there and see how it goes. So that's when I was saying, God, I've had this Mammy Hub idea in the back of my head. And she's like, oh God, I love the name. And I was like, I do too. So yeah, so that's where I didn't even know, and I still don't know where it's going. I just know it.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about the universe has that sorted out. Don't worry about that.
Exactly.
Universe brought you through the journey, dare I say it, your specific journey, and then you were left with the choice. Dara Byrne was left with the choice. Am I going to go under with this thing? Am I going to embrace my journey and do something positive with it? And you've chosen the latter, and we applaud you for that. It's great stuff, because you're coming to the Mammy Hub with pure intent to be open and supportive of people because of at times the lack of support that you would have felt over the years, and we wish you every success with it. Sounds great. How many subscribers or members, or what way does it work, your online group?
Well, there's the public page, and then there's a private group as well. So, and I'm on Instagram. I think I was trying to look at it yesterday. There's around around the 400 or so mark on the public one, and maybe between the 300 and 400 on the private, and then Instagram. Well, Instagram is let's collect as opposed to connect, but anyway, we won't even go there. So that's over the 400, 500. I'm not even sure what it is. But I suppose that was the one thing about the Mammy Hub, that I'd rather have 10 people in it and we're proper connecting than 10,000 people that are just collecting. So it's very important that it's actually making a difference. Yeah. So it's not about the numbers at all. I don't
No, I get that. 100%. And I love that phrase. I haven't heard that phrase before. I'm going to adopt it, collecting versus connecting. 100% agree with you. But bottom line is, Dara Byrne, and this is important to point out, you started something from nothing, from where you were with what you had, with your backstory, with pure intent, and you put it out there to the universe. And so far, even allowing for crossover across those platforms, guts of 1,000 people who are being positively impacted and have a place to go and listen. And you know what you're going to find, dare I say it, you're going to find people just sniffing around the edges and not getting involved, but they're being helped. And in their own time, in their own time, they'll step up and they'll spread the word. So hats off to you and Bula Bus. Congratulations. Congratulations. Look, a beautiful conversation. Thank you for coming in. And thank you for being, yes, I see Tim Kelly waving the hand there to wish you well. Beautiful conversation, but made so because you came in and you were open and vulnerable, and genuinely heartfelt thanks for that, because somebody, as I said before, either within the Cafe Today Live or somebody they'll talk to or somebody will hear this replay will benefit from it. So we wish you every success.
Thank you very much.
Going to go to Q&A from the floor in just a moment, Dara, if that's okay. You're nearly off the hook, right? Nearly.
I'm just wondering, would I be able to just read my poem? It'll only take 2 minutes.
Well, I was going to ask that you would do that. I was going to ask that you would do that. I'm going to ask you for a tip. I was going to ask you for a tip. What are you taking with you from COVID? But let's do the poem first.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'll go to Q&A from the floor.
Because it's easier. Then I had it written out, but then I'd be like, oh, I can't read my writing. Okay, it's called The Gift. So it says, and it just came about from one night. I was saying, you know, I remember I said about my father and being on his chest and the comfort that I got from that. And then I remember my daughter, she's terrible for waking at night. We won't even go there. But yeah, just that comfort that she gets the minute she's on Mama's chest, and just the breathing and the calmness. And you just think, God, wouldn't it be lovely if we all just took that time for ourselves? So it's the idea, is the gift that we give ourselves that. So, okay. So are you ready? 1, 2, 3, let's go. Okay, the gift. Give yourself permission to let go of comparison, doubt, judgment, perfection, guilt, shame. Wave goodbye to your inner critic. Acknowledge this is a process, forever adapting, learning, growing, inspiring, and being inspired. Come sit for a while, grounded in the arms of Mother Nature. Rest your head upon her chest. Feel her heart beating, slow yours to meet with its calmness. Accept the energy and love safe in her arms. Soak in the serenity and beauty that surrounds you. Give yourself the gift of time, the present of being present. In this time of pause, embrace it in its entirety. Feel the warmth of a summer's day, the whisper of a cool breeze, strength and adversity in the eye of any storm. Dance, sing, scream, laugh, and cry amid the rain. Breathe in all that you are becoming. There is no right or wrong. You are you, a magnificent vessel of light, sometimes a gentle glow, other times an almighty brightness. This is your journey. There is no rush. Slow yourself. Be gentle. Be kind. Each day the sun rises and falls, bringing new lessons, new beginnings. Breathe. Let go. Trust all that is for you will become. Ta-da!
Rapturous silent applause there in the cafe. That was truly beautiful. Truly beautiful. A magnificent vessel of light. Yeah. Magnificent vessel of light. That's what you are.
Thank you.
Vessel of light. Yeah. And you've chosen to be. You could have hid it under a bushel, and you've chosen not to. So we applaud you for that. And many more years of you going out there and being a magnificent vessel of light for others. And of course, that light will continue. Others will take the torch, and it'll spread.
Yeah, some days I need some other people to take it. It's all right to still feel shit sometimes, Dara. Yeah, good days and bad days, especially now at the moment. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. But look, you just keep going, and take your own words, if I may. You know, slow down, go with the flow. Don't be forcing it. Just do a little bit every day, right? And let the universe take care of the rest. And the right people will find you, right? And it will. Wish you every success in terms of you spreading your message of support and love. Truly beautiful. Right. What are you taking with you from COVID? Was the poem written in COVID?
It was just at the start of it, actually. It was the idea that this was a time, I suppose, before COVID, I was looking into ways, because it was only in January of this year that I had that kind of, suppose, burnout breakdown, whatever you want to call it. And I was starting to do things to kind of maybe look at changing job and all that kind of stuff. So when you're shoved into COVID, you really had to start reflecting, and there's the mirror, you know. So yeah, it was definitely about letting go was a big thing, that came up for me, letting go of stuff and moving on and taking things that aren't so great and turning them into something. I don't know the something yet. I don't need to know the something yet. I know my why. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I don't need to know the something yet. I know my why. We'll take that 100%. 100%. Dara Byrne, beautiful. Thank you for coming into the cafe today and sharing with us. Folks, who'd love to come in and have a quick chat from the cafe? Who's going to pop their hand up and come in and say a quick hello or ask a question? Sarah Ward.
How are you doing, Dara?
I'm good. Better than I was at the start. I can't remember the name of the
I know. It's a difficult journey.
I feel deadly, you're right.
I know, yeah. It is. It's good to get it all out, eh? Yeah. Yeah. I can understand exactly where you're coming from your dad. I had the same relationship with my dad. He was absolutely amazing. And I look back and I thank God I got him for the length of time I got him. So it's a blessing. And I know he's around every day watching over me. So I'm sure your dad is doing the same.
Oh, he's my angel, yeah.
Definitely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful how the doctor treated you. And I've had that experience myself as well, you know, with doctors, and they just like, they go to medical school and they get all the education in the world, but they don't get any teachings on how to handle people and be just empathetic. And it's disgraceful that you got treated like that. But fair dues to you. You turned it around, and you're doing great stuff now. And well done. Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks.
Be proud of yourself, girl.
I am. Thank you very much.
Good. Well done. Lovely.
Sarah Ward. Sarah, well, that was lovely. Thank you for coming in with that. That was just gorgeous.
Thanks for sharing yours too about your dad.
No problem.
Yeah, but a lovely interaction there, and you know, it's again somebody else using their own backstory to validate yours and to say, keep going, girl. And that's the vibe in the cafe today. Going to go to Princess Shelley. I see Harriet McGuigan has her hand up, but I get Princess Shelley to bring you in if that's okay in a moment, Harriet. Princess Shelley, in your own time. Thank you.
Hey Dee, such a wonderful story, and the comment section is a light. And once again, I'm starting this little section with an apology. There is no way I'll get to everybody. Katrina, who is our editor-in-chief, she'll email it to you later on, and you'll get to see all of it. So everyone will see. But I will give you a flavour, if you like, of what people are saying and the love that people have in the cafe for you and your story. You know, you take a little sip of coffee, you do.
I will after that. Cheers.
Cheers. So James, who's John Azakari, says you were talking at the start about Kate Bush, the song that came out and at the same year as you were born, and he said, I sang with Kate Bush. I didn't know that, James. We're in the presence of the
Woo!
So he knows how old you are, and therefore exactly how old he is as well. And there's nothing, you were talking then, he said there's nothing that prepares you for losing your dad, you know. So thanks for that comment, James. We'll have to hear more about that Kate Bush story, I'd say, at some stage. So then, and Dunnock said, he's joining us in from Scotland. Nice to have you here, Dunnock. And Dunnock said, your dad is clearly still with you and by your side today. And we kind of said that. Thanks for that comment, Dunnock. Eamon, who is our head of guest services, he grounded us at the start with his lovely mindful minute, and he said that the loss of your dad resonates deeply with him and many of the viewers and those that will access the replay, and that we honour our parents by calling to mind all the reasons we're so grateful that they were in our lives and the positive impacts they continue to have on us. He said love has no physical borders or timeline, which I liked that, because I shed a tear, Dara, when you were sharing the loss of your dad. I share a very close relationship with my pop, and it's not something I've suffered, but it's something I fear, and you moved me to tears with that, so thank you for that vulnerability. Dee Kyo, nice to have you, Dee, regular contributor on the show. You can give her a wave there. You're on a beautiful lavender throw there behind you. I love it. Dee says, it's lovely to hear such a freshness, and that's such a lovely word for what I hear. I agree with you entirely, Dee. It's lovely to hear such a freshness and truth when it comes from such an authentic place. It touches her. You're brilliant, Dara. Thank you. Isn't that very nice, Dee, isn't it?
Can I say thank you?
So Harriet, who I'm going to invite in a minute, says that the love that you and your father share is so palpable. And then she said how your other half, your hubby, got wise and proposed. So she was having a giggle at that part of the story. So yeah, Sarah, who we just heard from a moment ago, said that the joy that kids bring is amazing. We got as far as your daughter in the story. And again, your eyes danced with the love that you have for her. It was lovely, lovely, lovely to see. So yeah, so lots more. Katrina said that if you were saying about you can only feel your own feelings, you know, that when somebody says about somebody else. And Katrina said if she's upset over something and someone says about someone else having a worse time, her response would be, but I can only feel my feelings. I don't need to be made feel guilty for feelings other people sad or bad, you know. And everyone's applauding and nodding and loving that comment, because then they continue to be absolutely Katrina. I agree, Katrina. Dead right, Katrina. So obviously everybody could kind of relate to what you had said. And then Katrina offered in a comment in support of that, and then everybody was like, oh yeah, absolutely, you know, all this camaraderie. It's lovely, really, really, really nice. Then I know I'm going back to Dee. Dee said Dee, that's Dee Keogh. Now we've 2 Ds in the cafe today. So Dee then went back just before I do move on, and she said she loves that, where am I gone? She loves that Colm said that the cafe started as a business forum, but it's taken on a life of its own, an organic route, showing the need for a real dialogue, which underpins what we humans value, connection. So I loved that comment. Thank you, Dee. Delighted to share that comment. And then finally, Kathy, who's joining us over in the United States, we are her morning wake-up routine, which I just find so honourable and pleasurable. Kathy said, thanks for being so open and honest today. Having a baby is so wonderful, but you really need someone to talk with. I was so lucky that the neighbourhood I live in here, where there were other families having babies, but not everyone is so lucky to have that support. You're so creative, and I think she's grateful to the new moms that they, in the absence of what she was lucky enough to have, that you are being there for those people. So thank you for that great comment. Like I say, everybody, there's lots more comments there, and you'll get them emailed to you, Dee. Katrina will pop that off to you. At this point, I'm going to invite in, is Harriet still here, or did we lose her?
No problem, Princess Shelley. I'm just really conscious of the time. So actually what I was going to say was mentioned in the comments, but I just really, you know, it was really great to have connected with you recently, Dara, because you linked in with me through Moira Geary, and obviously it's lovely to see all of you again, and something really drew me to schedule in to listen today, you know, and I'm so glad I did, you know, and it's been amazing. But just, I suppose the Mammy Hub it's so important, you know. I just know from being a mum of a 13-year-old now, I mean, there was nothing like that 13 years ago. I think you knowing your why, it's vital. It's so vital, because it is beyond lonely for mothers, and it's like everyone's like, oh, you've got the fabulous baby, but you know, there's more to it than that, because of the lack of sleep and what that can do to our wellness. So, you know, I really wish you the best with it, and I, you know, keep plugging away, and I hope it'll be really good for your wellness as well, you know, on your journey. So, and it's lovely to see you all, and have a lovely weekend.
Oh, Harriet, what a lovely comment from a previous guest on the show quite recently, and a wonderful guest too. And you know, I love, you said what another guest said recently, Evelyn McAleer as well. She came to us, and one day she just was inspired through some other energy to join the show, and it ended up really resonating with her. And you've just said the same thing there with Dara coming on today. So I love that that's out there, and you love that you've come into the cafe to hear and to contribute today. Thank you so, so much. Okay, everybody. I feel like it was a little bit longer today. I'm sorry I missed you, Harriet. And I will pop back over to the host with the most. Have a great weekend, everybody. It's back to you, Colm. Thank you.
I'm going to miss the Princess Shelley piece, that's for sure, when this series ends. It's just really lovely. Love the fact, Dara, that you sat back too and had a cup of coffee. This is my time to have a cup of coffee when the Princess Shelley piece is going on. But you know, that I was looking at all the comments flying into the cafe, And of course, Princess Shelley's moderating them and giving us a flavour. And as she said, we email them up to all our guests, which is just a lovely, well, we think it's a lovely thing to do. So you get to see what people have been saying while you've been busy chatting away. I think Harriet probably said it better than I've attempted to say it. I was wishing you every success with your project, the Mammy Hub. Completely wrong choice of words. So we go with what Harriet said. It's, you know, you're doing great work, and it's adding value to other people, and at the same time, it's feeding your soul too. So thank you for all of that. So folks, it's been lovely having you all here again. Oh, Princess Shelley, I have a bit of a bone to pick with you, picking out DQ and her lovely throw. And look at my, you know, story. What's wrong with red? Anyway, moving swiftly on. Right, come here. We're going to go. Let me tell you what's happening in the cafe on Monday, if that's okay. We have next week's our last week. We promised that we would keep this going until COVID lifted, expecting it to last about 3 weeks. And next week we'll end up on show 85 this day week. So real quick, next week, Roisin Meany, #1 best-selling author, has 17 novels published. She's coming into us on Monday. On Tuesday is my dad. He's 82 in August. He's coming in on Tuesday as my special guest for posterity. I'm sure the Ma will throw her head in as well. We ask her nicely. On Wednesday, the lovely Katrina O'Brien is coming in. See, she's in here twice now. She's coming in on Wednesday. Looking forward to that chat. And we get Katrina's backstory because she is an absolute rock. Unflappable is the word we use to describe the lovely Katrina. I'm coming in on Thursday. They've asked me to tell the story, so I'll come in and it'll be done in 20 minutes, right? In and out. And then on Friday, the last show of Series 1, we did ask Dara, Uthar O'Mahern, genuinely, Michael D. Higgins, would he come in? He hasn't said yes, but he hasn't said no. But at this stage, I don't know that it's going to happen. So plan B, our expectation is that Dr. Sinead Kane is coming in next Friday. Fabulous lady. She's Ireland's first blind solicitor. She's an adventurer par excellence. She ran 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days, and she's blind. So, like, ladies and gentlemen, what's your excuse? What's holding you back? Like, seriously. So she's coming in next Friday. Fabulous lady, and a great backstory, obviously. So looking forward to that. But look, let me finish the week by saying it's been a great week. The Coffee at 11 show, lovely to have you all in the cafe. In particular, I want to thank the lovely team, Princess Shelley, for producing the show. Yes, big heart emoji for Princess Shelley. Eamon Smith, a.k.a. The Monk, who keeps us safe and secure. Just a joy. And the Mindful Minute has become an essential part of what we do here. And of course, Katrina O'Brien in advance for topping and tailing this and making it beautiful for sharing out later. I want to thank wigwam.ie, SME Peer Support, for their ongoing support. And finally, bring the show to a close by saying, Dara Byrne, namaste.
Namaste.